Are you someone who feels overworked, like there just isn't enough hours in the day? Well, we have got an episode that you are going to enjoy. We're going to talk today about buying back your time and different ways that you can sort of reclaim and restructure your schedules in ways that increase your joy. Hello, and welcome to the Wealth Minded MD podcast with your money best friends. I'm Dr. Alicia Taylor.
And I'm Dr. Brittany Halford.
And of course, we're here to help you build wealth and make good money decisions so you can create the life you desire with more control over your time.
Alicia, can we talk about life insurance for a second? Because I feel like this is one of those things that people either avoid or overcomplicate.
Exactly. And honestly, a lot of us think we need these big, complicated, expensive policies when in reality, most people just need a solid term life insurance policy that actually protects their family.
And that's why we love working with PKA Insurance Group. They're independent brokers, which means that they're not tied to one company. They shop across all major carriers to find you the best option.
And what I really appreciate is that they're not trying to upsell you. They'll actually tell you what you do need, what you don't need, which is rare in the insurance world.
Exactly. Whether you're getting coverage for the first time or you already have a policy, they'll review what you have and let you know if it's solid or if there's something better or more affordable out there.
So if you've been putting off life insurance or wondering if you actually have the right policy or if your current policy is a good fit for you, this is your sign.
Reach out to PKA Insurance Group at pkainsurance.com or call 1-800-258-1018 to get started. And don't forget to tell him that we sent you. Also, the link is right in the show notes for your convenience. So click the link and get started today.
All right, Brittany, what's happening over there in your world?
Alicia, I think you're going to love this, okay? Because this is so Alicia. Now, as I think about saying it, I'm like, is she going to think this is so Alicia or not? Okay. So recently, my husband said, okay, we need to sit down and we need to just plan out our schedule. And so we together sat down and said, when do we want to go on vacation? At least put the dates on the schedule. And sometimes we don't do that because we are very ambitious. We're always speaking, going to conferences, serving others. But what we've realized is that when we went on vacation recently, and even though it was just 2 hours away, we really enjoyed the relaxation. And it was a way that we didn't have to feel rushed and there was no time, there was no agenda. We could just be present. So how to build in more of that. And so on this episode where we're buying back our time, we're not necessarily thinking about how can we spend more money to leverage time, but how could we just be more intentional about the utilization of our time, ensuring that we're going on vacations and not all the vacations are just conference vacations, like just some designated vacations for us with no agenda. And how can we protect that in a way that feels really good? And then after we thought about that, I got a call from Amex and she's like, oh, I'm your business consultant. I want to make sure that you're leveraging all of your points. I'm like, oh, okay, we got this amount of points. We're going to make this happen. So we haven't actually spent the money on the points yet, but just really starting to conceptualize what this looks like and being intentional about planning it.
I love that for you because I think for me, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And that includes vacation time. And so one of the things that I try to do is block those days, reserve those days on my calendar so I can be conscious and not schedule other things there. And the other thing is thinking about, okay, what are the different points in the year that I would like to go on vacation? So typically I do a vacation in the springtime around April, do a vacation around my birthday around June, and there's something in the fall and maybe something minor in the winter. But there's usually at least 3 points where I'm like, okay, I know I want to take a trip around these times. And so I may not ask for the vacation days off at work yet, but I'm already thinking in my head, okay, what's our April trip? What's my June trip? And what's our fall trip? Sometimes the dates might fluctuate, but I try to go ahead and think about that. One of the things I've tried to do a better job at is planning in advance because you get better deals when you book things in advance. Now, obviously things are subject to change, but for me, especially if I'm trying to utilize points for a trip, I know that I need to book those flights far in advance. I know that I need to secure some of these hotel deals far in advance. And so usually I'm trying to get to the point where I can do it at least 6 months to a year in advance, where I'm thinking, all right, where would I at least like to go in April of next year? Where would would I like to go in June of this year? Where would I like to go in the fall? All right, let me go ahead and start thinking about it. Let me look at different hotel options. Let me look at different flight options. What airlines fly there and back? How many days off can I take for these trips? Because I think it helps me to plan. So I love that you and your husband are sitting down and thinking, how can we go on vacation? I know that life, I can imagine at least that life is very busy with kids, especially kids that are in a traditional school with spring breaks where everybody, I'm sure, is trying to take vacation around the same time. School, summer breaks where everybody's trying to take a vacation in summer, and then fall break or winter break where everybody's got the same break. So you're competing not only against yourself and the busyness of your schedule, but you're competing against other people that have the exact same breaks as you. So probably does require some planning. So I'm glad that you all are thinking ahead and trying to at least block out the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I feel you like affirm that this was so Alicia, and I'm appreciative that you appreciate it. All right. So, as we are talking about time and vacation, I know that we're going to move into the financial focus, which discusses buying back your time. And this is something that I have begun to do. I didn't do it when I was in residency, but definitely now, as an attending physician with a busy life, I am always considering how can I buy back more of my time. So, Leisha, I know that this is something that you also do, but you have shared with us how sometimes it requires a little bit more thoughtfulness on your end to kind of actually make the move. You got to have a stronger impetus. So tell us, what does buying back your time actually mean to you?
Yeah. So I think for me, buying back my time means creating more freedom in my life, being able to carve out time to do the things that are important to me. And I think first you got to figure out, well, what is important to you? Because I think it is so easy to get on autopilot and say, okay, well, I wake up, if you have kids, maybe I get my kids together for school. I go to my own job. I come home. Maybe I work out. Maybe I don't. I cook dinner. Maybe I don't. I put my kids to bed. Then I myself go to bed. I wake up and I do it again. But I think it behooves us to really pause and say, is this how I want to be spending my time? Or would I like more time at home? Would I like more time at work? Would I like more time with my kids? And so really thinking about what it is that you want to be able to do. Asking yourself, if you had all the money in the world, how would you spend your time? How would you want to make a difference in this world? How would you want to spend each day? And once you start envisioning some of that stuff, you have to really kind of let go of some of the beliefs that you might have held in the past. For a lot of us, we've been taught that success means being very busy. You know, it's having a full clinic, it's maybe having a full inbox, whether it's our email box or our message box at work. We have a full house, whether it's kids filling the house or something else, we've got a full life. But really taking the time and really saying, okay, is the goal to be busy? Is the goal to earn more, or is the goal to be happy and joyous in my life? Are there changes that I could make that might allow me to be able to get more time and get more control out of my time in ways that provide more joy to me, in ways that provide more energy for me, in ways that provide more margin in my life? And so it's not about being lazy or avoiding responsibility or trying to figure out how you can grind differently, but it is about using money in ways that allow you to be able to get more of the time that you want to do the things that you want, right? Reallocating energy toward higher value, higher joy activities, designing your life in a way that is intentional. So that's a very long-winded answer, but that's what buying back your time means to me.
I appreciate that. Also, when you said we have to let go of some old ways of thinking, that resonated so much with me because there was a point in time where I felt overwhelmed with two kids and I got to cook, got to clean. I still have to go to work and I need to be present with my husband. I need to be present for myself. And I said, I can't do it all. And when we looked for help, I said, okay, well, if I ask her to cook, then what else am I going to be doing on my days off? Because, you know, I'm a hospitalist, so I'm not always at work. What am I going to be doing on my days off? And then it was this thought that said, well, your mother didn't have anybody who was cooking and cleaning and outsourcing all of these things. And I felt bad. Well, am I less of a woman because now I'm asking for help? Am I less of a mother because I'm not making the lunches in the morning sometimes? And I determined, no, what I do is good enough. And I also deserve to rest. So if I do nothing during this time off but sleep, then I deserve that. So I just say that because there are probably some women who are listening to this and feeling like when we look at the examples of what a woman is, you know, our mothers, I can speak for my mother and my grandmother, they carried a heavy load. They did a lot of it, but they also were connected more so than where we are today. Like they had sisters and best friends who've been sisters. And so they had a stronger community to kind of help them out. So that's kind of where I have gone through this own mental processing in helping me to let let go of this busyness and also embrace that rest is restorative. And that is reason enough.
Yeah, you're right. We have to kind of break through or break away from some of those limiting beliefs. And I've got a few strategies that I think might be able to help us buy back more of our time. So the first one is buying back time from work. And you can do that in a few different ways. One is by simply cutting back on your clinical time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going from full time to part time, but it might mean instead of seeing patients 4 or 5 days a week, you cut back to seeing patients 2, 3 days a week, and you do other tasks those other days of the week that you might be able to do from home or that might provide you with a bit more flexibility. So fewer clinic days, maybe that means reducing your call. Maybe that means instead of working 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, you work 4 days a week for 10 hours a day and you get that full day off. Maybe it means negotiating more schedule flexibility with your boss. But I do think that there are different ways that we can do this. Now, I know that when we start talking about this, there are a few things that come to mind for folks. It's that fear of like, what am I going to do about money if I cut back on my clinical time? How am I going to make sure that I can still pay my bills with this? And I think there are some strategies for that. But one of the things that I want to mention is that I think there is something to be said about lowering your risk for burnout. You're going to make more money over time if you can continue working overtime, not if you burn yourself out. You're going to be able to perform better when you're more well rested and more well rounded, right? And you're going to be a better presence at home for your spouse, for your partner, for your kids, for your family, for your friends, whenever you don't have that mental exhaustion sometimes that you might get from work. And so you have to ask yourself, is the extra income that you're making right now, is the money that you're making right now worth all of the energy that you're expending to get it? Are there some changes that you can make within your work life in order to balance things a little bit better?
I'm all about buying back your time and cutting down. And Alicia, I agree that the biggest threat to our income is burnout, the longevity of our jobs and our ability to continue to make this level of finances. So having a holistic approach, and it's not just cutting back necessarily like, oh, I'm going to go from 100% to 80%, but just working differently, as you mentioned. When we think about the next strategy, increasing leverage instead of hours. So we've talked about this a lot in our coaching program Boost and also in past episodes about negotiating your salary, negotiating your time, like the distribution of your time, negotiating some of your RVU rates, right? How much you're going to get paid for the work that you're doing, negotiating spending some time at home, negotiating some administrative time. So when you think about leveraging the work that we're doing, how else do you talk to people or what other strategies do you have?
Yeah. So I think it's thinking about, is there a way that you can work differently and get the same outcome or a similar income? And, as you mentioned, maybe that means doing a little telemedicine so you can do that from home. Maybe that does mean some sort of hybrid model that allows you to do some administrative tasks, some teaching, some leadership or whatever. Maybe it's thinking to yourself, what are some ways that I can increase my value and charge my value instead of always trying to increase my volume? I know for me and some of my primary care colleagues, a few of us have discovered that there are certain billing codes that maybe we weren't utilizing in the past. These Z codes and things like that we can add on that insurance will reimburse us for that doesn't cost the patient more, but might allow our clinic, our facility, our hospitals to bring in more money, which then can flow to us. And so there's a way to kind of maximize things in a different way and utilize some of the tools available to us. Are there ways that I can use AI within my day-to-day practice to allow me to get some tasks done sooner? I know some folks have been thinking about that from a medical perspective. Brittany, I don't know if y'all use DAX at your job, but some systems have started using DAX. We'll listen to the patient visit and write the note for you, and all you got to do is look over it. And so is there ways that I can work smarter, not harder, and maintain my income in a way that will allow me to have more energy left at the end of each work day? And so those are some things that I've tried to do at my job. There's a YMCA, there's a gym on the first floor. And I don't know why, but for the first couple of years that I worked there, I wasn't really utilizing the gym, maybe because I had a gym in my apartment. And so I just thought I'll work out at my apartment. But I don't know why I had this epiphany this year. Like, why am I doing that? Why don't I work out during my lunch break? And so I've started doing that where I will see patients in the morning, go for a run, lift some weights or whatever during my lunch break, do a quick shower and be ready for afternoon clinic. And now I don't have to work out before work and I'm not exhausted exhausted trying to work out after work. Now, when I get home from work, I can relax or I cook, watch some TV. So I've gotten back some of my hours in the day just by changing how I've done some things. And so maybe you can take a lesson from that and say, are there things that I myself can change or that you yourself can change that will allow you to have a little bit more time and a little bit more energy at the end of each workday?
So I know the question that everybody's thinking, well, Leisha, if you're working out and you're showering during your lunch break, do you eat lunch?
I do eat. I do not starve myself. But I think for me, I'm fine eating at my desk, eating between patients if it allows me to save time and work out during my lunch break.
Okay.
Especially if I'm precepting, right? If I'm precepting the residents, like they're seeing patients, I'm just supervising. This is great. So I'm just like, oh, it's fine. I'm eating.
Oh my goodness. I opened this up kind of talking about my own struggle at home and just really letting go of some of those limiting beliefs. But I really find that this strategy has been so life changing for me. Honestly, it has been life changing to know that I can ask someone to help me with the tasks that I don't have to do. Like my kids don't care. And actually, they prefer if mommy is not frantically cleaning up during the time that I'm supposed to be playing with them. Yes, we still have to do some cleaning, people, okay? Especially raising kids, you want to make sure that they know how to clean and do their own laundry and all of the things. But that is something that I have gotten some help with. Now, as a laundromat owner, one of the things that I am selling to people is pickup and delivery. Don't spend 3 hours a week washing and folding your clothes. Allow us to do it for you, and we will pick it up at your door and deliver it right to you. All you got to do is put it away. And so, thinking about these snow days, we have someone who comes and shovel the snow. This is a way that we're buying back our time by leveraging our income and exchanging our time for their service.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're talking about is our next strategy, which we mentioned, about outsourcing home and life logistics. So I've got some ideas on this strategy and how we can outsource some of our home and life logistics to get more time. And I know that you have done the same, whether it is hiring a housekeeper. Oof, it's nice to come back home to a clean house that smells nice. A laundry service, grocery delivery. I've done that a lot more now. Meal prep services, lawn care. I don't have a lawn, but I know some people who outsource that. Home organizers, that sort of thing. And the other thing that I've really been paying attention to even more lately, Brittany, is outsourcing some of the decisions that I have to make. So maybe that's a meal subscription service. I know I use that. Or like, it's not even just the grocery shopping. It's okay, well, what am I going to cook for dinner tonight? And so having a meal subscription service that like, okay, here is the recipe. This is what you are cooking. There's a few different ones if you have a taste for something else. So then it makes my life a little bit easier. For me at work, it's so funny. All of my colleagues are business casual and I wear scrubs. And nobody says anything to me. I think it's because I do sports medicine. I do a lot of procedures and injections. And so it works for me. But I wear scrubs. And a part of that is eliminating decision fatigue. I know I need a matching top and a matching bottom. I don't have to think about, oh, did I wear this blouse recently? What pair of slacks am I going to wear? I have scrubs to make my decisions fewer and just make it easier for me in the morning. And so along with outsourcing tasks that need to be done so that I can have more time on the back end, I also have tried to eliminate some of the daily decisions that I need to make. So automating things, doing meal subscriptions, simplifying my wardrobe, at least for work. So my goal is fewer decisions. And so those are some of the ways that I've kind of outsourced some of my home and life logistics.
I really appreciate the capsule wardrobe and things of that nature. I think for me, that takes up a huge amount of my mental energy of what am I going to wear? And I just end up wearing the same things over and over again. But as we're talking about appearance and how we're presenting ourselves, one of the ways that we can do that is buying back our time through personal care. And this is an investment that I have shifted in probably the past year or so with my hair. And I don't really get my nails done too much. I used to do my hair. I used to wash it, comb it. I mean, I know how to braid. I know how to do all of the things. But then I'm like, oh, I am sitting here for hours, sometimes doing all of the things. And yeah, I have my show on, I have music, I can listen to a podcast, but what else could I be doing with that time? So now I just go and I have somebody do my own hair. And typically, because I know how to do hair, I can keep it up for a little bit of time, right? And so I sit there and I do work during that time, or I take a nap during that time and allow someone to perform that service for me. The same with a personal trainer. When I got a personal trainer, now I don't have one now, but when when I had a personal trainer, it was really helpful because it made my workouts, the time that I was spending and working out, more impactful to target the areas that were of concern to me instead of just doing a workout that I thought was appropriate for me or was prescribed for someone else. I had someone who could assess my goals, assess my weaknesses, and help me to achieve those goals through this more tailored approach. So I appreciate that we have this conversation because it causes us to think about how are we shifting the things that we do, the actions that we're taking, and the time that we're spending so that we have more value on the back end.
Yeah, it takes a mind shift because when I was making much less money, my sole focus was how can I save money? And so I would do a lot of things maybe inefficiently or try to learn skills myself so that I wouldn't have to pay somebody to do it because I was solely focused on how can I save money? How can I save money? How can I save money? And now the focus is how can I save time? How can I save time? How can I save time? And for me, that means although I can do something myself, should I do something myself? Is that the best use of my time or is that the best use of my energy? Okay, I could do my own hair, but me doing my own hair is probably going to take me a couple of hours. And that's 2 less hours that I could spend talking to my friends, watching TV, spending time with family, going out here or there. And so for me, it's not only about, oh, okay, could I do that myself? It's like, okay, but is that a wise use of my time? Sometimes I'm so exhausted and I feel exhausted because I don't have enough time to relax. And so it's like, I need to build in a little bit more relaxation time. And if I can't create more hours in the day, maybe I can start outsourcing those tasks that I would do. I love your example about the hairstylist because I do that all the time. It's like, okay, I could wash my own hair, but if I go to the hairstylist, she'll wash it for me. And now I can relax, a little bit. And then once I've relaxed and taken a mini nap while she's massaging my scalp, if I'm sitting under the dryer, now I can answer a few emails or I can watch a TV show. And so I'm able to get so much more work done when I'm outsourcing that. And I realize that that's a very privileged stance. I'm able to outsource that task because I'm able to pay for it. But I do think there comes a time where you have to say, okay, maybe this is worth the cost for me. And it's not like you have to do this every time or it's a one and done thing like, oh, I have to pay a hairstylist every couple of weeks now. Maybe you do a little bit of a hybrid. Maybe one time you do your hair yourself and the next time you go get it done. Or maybe you have your personal trainer once a week and then you work out on your own once a week. And so you're combining some of those things. And so it's not a either or, it's not 100% or zero. Sometimes you can do some hybrid, but I think there is value to understanding that you need personal care, that you will be a better version of yourself if you're able to outsource some of those tasks and that some of those tasks might mean allowing yourself to be pampered. And again, it's not about vanity, it's about delegation and saying, you know what, maybe I could have somebody else do this for me this time and I could reap the rewards on the back end. So this is something I had to learn over time. It's okay to spend money in these areas. And I think for me, it just made me a happier person and added more joy and more energy to my life.
I agree because after spending a certain number of hours and your arms hurt doing your own hair or whatever it is, then sometimes I regretted it. There are times where I'm like, I did this, and so when I get compliments for my hair, I'm like, oh yeah, I did it myself. And that made me feel good. So it just really depends on where you are. Now, Alicia, we've talked about this in other podcasts, and I've actually shared this in one of my fun monies is just using AI and also offloading tasks to a virtual assistant. So I know that we do this in our business, but I wonder how many people could do this in their lives of hiring a virtual assistant to go through their emails and manage their emails, to actually build spreadsheets, kind of this template spreadsheet for their businesses or for presentations that they might have to do in their job. Do you use virtual assistants and AI in your personal life, or is it only relegated to business?
Right now, it has mainly been relegated to business, but I am trying to use it more in my personal life. I actually have a good friend who was doing this like a couple of years ago. She lived in New York and she's so busy. And she actually had an assistant that managed all of her text messages. Like I'd be like, hey, girl, can we hang out? And it was her virtual assistant messaging me back and being like, she is available these days and these times. And I'm like, okay. But she had the assistant doing everything, reading her emails, prioritize things for her, remind her when she hadn't responded back to somebody. I know other folks who have used either a virtual assistant or an AI assistant to do some of their travel planning. They'll give it some different times of the year that they want to go on vacation, give them a budget, tell them some things about their family, and then it would give them some lists of some travel ideas, managing their calendar, syncing things together, scheduling certain tasks and things. And so I am trying now to challenge myself to use it in my personal life more. I think one of the barriers has been I don't necessarily characterize myself as somebody who's like good with technology. And so there's a barrier of how do I learn this thing? And I think also there was a barrier when it comes to a virtual assistant is, can I trust them? Am I certain that they're going to do good work? They might live in a different time zone. How do I manage that? Is it worth the cost? And for me, I just found that it was, especially when it comes to a virtual assistant for business related purposes. Oftentimes you can pay them a lot less than a human assistant that might work right beside you. And so that's also cost effective decision. And I've realized how much more efficient I have become as a result of it. So to answer your question, I've used virtual assistants for sure. And I'm learning more how I can use artificial intelligence to my advantage as well. And I think one of the barriers has in the past been, I don't necessarily know this technology. How do I learn this technology? It's easy to fall into that trap of, oh, I don't want to take the time to learn something new, so I'll just do it myself. But I think if you keep making that decision, then you'll never evolve, or you'll be slow to evolve and you might be inefficient in that process. And so I'm trying to challenge myself to learn new tools and to figure out how I can leverage virtual assistants and AI to make my life easier, more efficient, and more productive in ways that allow me to then save some of my time and my energy.
That's great. And I think it is a great segue to kind of this math because we talked about, or at least I talked about some of the emotional reasons why I'm spending to buy back my time and some of the roadblocks or limiting beliefs that I had on pursuing this path. But if we make this a mathematical decision, how have you calculated the difference? Do you actually look at the numbers and the amount of time that you're spending and the amount that you get paid per hour? Or is there a different approach that you use to say, yes, this is an investment worth making?
That's a great question. I know some people do the root math of like, okay, I get paid, I don't know, 150 bucks an hour and this costs $10 an hour. So it's a no brainer. I think some people can do that and it might be helpful for them. I think for me, it has always been me reminding myself of the big picture. Is my goal to do things myself and save the most amount of money, or is my goal to progress forward, to grow, to evolve? And when I remind myself of what my goal is to progress forward, to be productive, to evolve, and to grow, then it's like, okay, can me hiring a virtual assistant help me in that endeavor? To be completely honest, it was helpful, but it was so cheap. Nowadays, I don't know if you can find a human assistant that's good with technology and has web background and computer programming background and pay them anything less than 30, 40 bucks an hour. They're going to charge you a lot. It's so funny. I'm listening to this podcast about all the things that an AI assistant can do. And they talked about how they gave it a prompt and it created a personal website for the person. Now, there were still some tweaks that needed to be made, but I was like, wow, in the span of seconds, an AI assistant could make an entire personal website for someone versus like if I had tried to do that myself, it might have taken me hours and thousands of dollars to outsource that to a human assistant. And so just understanding how AI can help me collapse time when I remind myself of what my goals are and the things that it can do or the things that a virtual assistant can do and how it's actually not that costly. I'm like, Leisha, what am I doing? What am I doing? For me, it is transitioning from that scarcity mindset of I don't have enough to I probably do have enough and I could be able to do more if I made these changes in my life. And so it was a hard barrier to cross initially. But I think once I saw how helpful it could be from us from a business standpoint, it made me think, okay, I could start thinking about how I could use this in my personal life. And so to answer your question, I did consider the cost, but for me, the cost was inconsequential. The cost of a virtual assistant is very low, in my personal opinion, and the cost of trying to utilize AI is often very low. Oftentimes, you can use the free version and get what you need. And so when I thought about the fact that it didn't cost me that much and that it was going to save me so much time and energy, it was a no-brainer. I just had to make my mind up, like, let me learn how to use this. Let me learn how I can do this. And once I made up my mind to do that, it was kind of smooth sailing and I'm kind of on my way.
Yeah, so it's like an initial upfront cost
Mhm.
of time and energy and money, but on the back end, it will pay off dividends over time, just like any investment would. So I love that for you. All right. So if we're designing a time portfolio, as you have it in our notes here, tell us, how do we do that? What is a time portfolio? How are we now thinking about our time as an investment?
Yeah. So I think it's rethinking how you spend your time and are there things that you could be doing differently that maybe you don't realize right now? And it starts with asking yourself a few questions. Number one, what drains you? What tasks do you do on a daily basis or weekly basis that drain you? And that can give you a clue as to, okay, these are the first things I'm going to target when I think about hiring a virtual assistant or using artificial intelligence. The second thing is what energizes you? What are the tasks you actually like doing that you can continue to do yourself? Maybe just do them a little bit more efficiently. What are some things that only you can do? That will give you an idea of what you should be spending more of your time on versus what should you be spending less of your time on? And what could someone else else do about 80% as well. Because I think part of the trap is no one can do it as good as me. No one cares about my money as much as I do. No one can do this task as well as I can. No one can execute the vision as good as I can because I'm the one with the vision. And it's not about saying, can they execute it perfectly? It's saying, can they execute it decent enough to allow you to hit your goal? And I think I've had to shift my mindset of that because if I always insist that everything is done to the T exactly how I want, it's going to take more time, more energy. It's probably going to require me to do it, but being okay with a good enough in some areas of my life. And I started thinking about what are the things that drain me and what are the different ways that I could spend my time and what are the different parts of my day that I would like more of my time back. That is when I really kind of come to these conclusions about how I can buy back my time. And when it comes to my personal life, I've done all of these things. I have literally cut back clinically at work so I can do more administrative tasks, more teaching that allows me more flexibility and the ability to work from home. I have outsourced some home and life logistics. We talked about how I hired a maid and how I do grocery delivery and meal prep services and how I do have some of those things that I'm paying for on a monthly or sometimes a weekly basis in order to make my life easier. I do buy back my time through personal care. I have a hairstylist. I don't have a personal trainer, but I do have a nail technician. And so that thing has been very helpful. And you and I have talked ad nauseum about how I'm trying to utilize AI to make things more efficient. And so I have tried to use all of these things to buy back my time. And I can say, although I probably don't make as much money as I could because I'm not working as much as I used to, right? I don't have 3 different clinical jobs anymore, mainly just have one. I'm so much happier. I can tell you, I'm so much happier having more control over my time. Being able to wake up some days and say, how do I want to spend my morning? Having the luxury of what I call a slow morning, being able to wake up, not rush through my morning coffee, being able to read my devotional, think about my day, organize my tasks. Having that luxury is really great. Having the ability to say, you know what, I've got a doctor's appointment here, so I'm not going to do this work during this hour, do it later. Having that flexibility, that to me just makes my life overall so much more fulfilling and so much more joyous. And I made that decision. And other people have made different decisions. You know, they decided that they want to make as much money as possible. And so they don't have as much time freedom. But I have decided that for me, having time freedom is extremely important. And I am willing to sacrifice some of the money that I could make to get that time freedom as long as I have enough. I've defined what enough is for me. I'm happy at this point in my life and I am buying back my time.
Well, that was a word right there. Alicia, I appreciate that. And even with that, it's just inspiring. The one thing that I would add is once you buy back your time, once you involve AI, virtual assistants, people to help in the home, things of that nature, it is also really important that you do a check in to say, how is this going? Do I like the way that they're doing things? Do I need to give additional feedback, clarity, et cetera, so that it could be done the way that matters most to me? And is there something that I thought I wanted to give up that I actually want to take back? And I just bring that up because there have been times during this process when I've been buying back my time that I had to give some feedback. I had to adjust my systems and structures so that involving that additional person, the virtual assistant, the AI tool, the physical maid, or et cetera, caused some angst because they weren't doing it exactly the way that I wanted them to do it. And so just knowing that you maybe can't change that, but you can change the systems, you can change how you feel about that, or you can find somebody else to do it for you. So doing a mid check in is really important to ensure that it is still working for you in the way that you intended. All right. So I think it's time for some fun money. What about you? What are you spending your money on?
I am trying to spruce up my place with good scents. And so I've gotten some new plug-in air fresheners from Bath and Body Works and tried to switch them out. So I've got a little like vanilla and a little like strawberry, a little cinnamon here and there. And sometimes I'll light some candles in the evenings. And so I've really tried to just curate this wellness experience for myself. For me, I love coming back home, opening my door to my place and having this luxurious kind of scent, not something that's overpowering, but something mild that just puts me in a good mood. So that's something small that I've been doing to spend my money for fun.
I have so many questions, but I'm not going to ask them right now in this fun money segment. We'll take those offline, people. I love that for you. And, you know, I heard from many people just like the sense of smell. I think it's one thing that we often engage in. I don't know, like, oh, this smells bad, but I don't activate my sense of smell in a positive way. So I appreciate that you're doing that. And I have to think about how much more I can do that besides just putting on a little perfume that I like. So I'm spending money on things that also improve my home, but is not in the same way of creating this pleasurable experience, but a vacuum cleaner. So we have this RoboVac that's probably on its last leg, but it's not as efficient. Sometimes it's just like getting out a real vacuum cleaner and doing it yourself. And I had this one that I purchased years ago in residency, and I had fixed it a couple of times. I'm like, you know what, Brittany, you got enough money to stop fixing this vacuum. Just go buy you a new one. And so I really love this new vacuum is really helpful. So much more powerful and has eliminated a headache of me fixing my old vacuum.
Hey, I love it. Anything we can do to make our lives easier. That's the whole purpose of this episode. So it could be as simple as getting a new vacuum cleaner. We are happy for you and your life of ease, or the ability to make your life a little bit easier. So hopefully you all have found some good nuggets that you can take away from this episode. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast. When you do that, it makes it easier for other people to find us. We hope that you stay wealth-minded. We can't wait to come back to you again next week.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Brooke. I'm recording a little disclaimer for my mommy, Dr. Brittany Halford, and her friend, Dr. Lisa Taylor. Just so you know, they're not financial advisors, tax professionals, lawyers, or financial planners. Everything you hear is for education and entertainment. It's not strict financial advice, So use your best judgment, chat with a tax professional, and all those other people that you need to talk to. Thanks for tuning in today. Keep cruising on your journey to wealth and wellness. Bye-bye.